Yeah, we're ready to proceed, Corporate Officer? Rebecca, are we okay to go?
Sorry, I didn't realize I was muted. YouTube seems to be stalled for some reason. It's not uploading yet. I'm not sure why.
Okay.
So now I have a message now that says it has started streaming. So I think you're good to go.
Okay, thank you. Evie, welcome. Nice to see you.
Thank you. Good to see you guys.
Yeah. Okay, thanks everybody. And I'd like to welcome everybody to the regular meeting of council for October 6, 2021, being held electronically as per Ministerial Order M192. And I acknowledge that we are meeting today in the traditional territory of the Squamish Nation. We have a agenda, and are there any additions to that agenda at this time? Okay, seeing none, I'll call the meeting to order at time being at 7 o'clock and ask for approval of the agenda. Councillor Kroll, Councillor Ladwig, thank you very much. All in favor of approval? Thank you. First item, to adopt the minutes of the regular meeting of council for September 21, 2021. Sorry, yeah. Okay. Motion, Councillor Ladwig, Councillor Kroll, thank you. All in favor? Thank you. And business arising from the minutes. Is there any business arising from the minutes of the September 21 meeting? Now, I have one. I just want to make a comment on the minutes, if you'll bear with me. And that is, it was resolution number 2021 R55, and this was the resolution regarding the RVs within the town. I just want to go on record as saying that I too would have opposed that had I been present. I think I'm not sure what the message it sends when we suggest that somebody apply for a temporary permit. Does it assume we're going to approve it? And I don't know why we had to waive a $1,500 application for somebody who has many more dollars than the rest of us. It just seems to be a different way to approach business. But I just want to go on the record as saying I saw that. If I had been here, I would have joined Councillor Ladwig, perhaps for different reasons, I don't know, in opposing it. It seemed to be a message sent out there. So will there be no further comments? Business arising? We'll go
Mayor.
to, sorry?
Mayor.
Yes.
Yeah, I have more. Thanks for bringing that. I actually don't recall in the conversation waiving, but it could be that I don't remember. I remember that we had a discussion and we at the last minute, we kind of, okay, let's bring it just to, but I don't really recall waiving the $1,500.
Apparently was passed and approved. So,
But is it possible that that this is verified? Because I don't recall myself. It could be that it was, but I don't recall passing this specific. I remember passing the other one. The other.
Corporate Officer?
Well, we check against the recording of the meeting.
Okay.
And my understanding that is accurate, that that's what happened.
Okay.
Roll.
Thank you, Mayor Beamish. Yeah, what was passed was that we would see if we could find some common ground to get the property owner to come back with and apply for the TUP to provide temporary RV accommodation within the community. I've since been working with Silas and the owner, and we, at this point, we haven't reached any common ground that would warrant sending the letter. The letter was the one component, the waiving the fee was the second component. And right now, I would be reluctant to generate the letter to the owner to invite him back because there's just too many issues at stake that where common ground can't be found. So at this point, it's still very much a work in progress.
Okay. That puts a different light on things in terms of corporate officer. Has the letter been sent?
No, I had said that I would work on the drafting of the letter, and that has not happened unless someone has written a letter on council's behalf, but I'm not aware of it.
No, no letter has been written on council's behalf.
No, it was a case, sir, of trying to find common ground that we could sort of try and mitigate the situation of the time that bylaw was spending, the time that staff was spending, dealing with these RVs looking for homes.
Yeah. No, I understand the issue. I understand the problem, but yeah.
So to date, no invitation has gone back to the property owner to invite him to come back with a proposal to for a TUP.
Councillor Ledwig?
I'm just kind of confused on process now. I mean, obviously I oppose the motion to begin with for the same reasons more or less that Mayor Beamish just discussed. But why just out of curiosity, why are you working on this letter, Councillor Kroll? I mean, the motion was just to have staff send him a letter inviting him back to the table. What is it that needs to be like you're working on a proposal as opposed to a letter? And that's even almost more concerning to me.
First of all, I didn't want to put additional work on staff, and before the invitation was sent, I wanted to ensure that there was common ground, that it was worth the proponent's time to come back.
Right.
It made absolutely no sense to have him come back and with the deck stacked before he walked through the door for it to fail.
So I will say,
I
would ask that those conversations be had with the developer before it comes to council for a resolution, because it did kind of come out of left field. And yeah, it felt like a bit of an awkward motion to be made. And I would have assumed that those conversations would have been had already.
They were to a certain extent.
Right. Anyway.
Just take thought from the, I don't know if it's a matter for reconsideration or just a matter, do we just keep on the books? It's a, yeah, to me, I guess the waiving of fees, which we have not been in the practice of doing, is just an unfortunate precedence of doing, because I don't know how I would turn somebody else down when somebody who is a significant property owner and businessman, we'd waive a $1,500 fee for. That's my big concern, is that sits as a resolution, and if it has not been acted upon, could be subject to reconsideration. And let me do this. Let me give notice of motion to council that I would like to review that with a view to bringing it back for reconsideration in the next meeting, if I can legally do that. And I'll just provide that heads up to council right now that I will be researching that and see if that's a possibility to bring it back to reconsideration. And that, of course, is provided that it has not been actioned in terms of a letter written. Okay, thank you. The next item arising from the minutes is the one coming, and that's on the agenda 4.1, and that a letter be provided to the, on behalf of council, expressing support to Sunshine Coast Affordable Housing Society's application for charitable status. I guess this came up in conversation, but was not actioned at the last meeting. So would somebody care to move that proposal? Councillor Ladwig will move that. Seconded by Councillor Kroll. Thank you. Any further discussion on that? Okay, seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Thank you very much. We're going now to inquiries, and inquiries at this point of our agenda are for any items that are on the agenda for council's consideration tonight so that we can have the benefit of your wisdom, your thoughts before we enter into the consideration of those items. So
I see one hand raised, Mayor Beamish. I'm bringing over Blake McLeod.
thank you. Mr. McLeod.
Mayor and Council. It's regarding the next item on the agenda, which is 6.1.2. I've got some questions, actually. Previously, it was mentioned in the record, on the record, that the review of DPA 2 would have been in 2023 action as part of an OCP review and would therefore be subject to public input. And I just wanted to ask, is moving that item into 2021 circumventing that part of the process where the public would be involved in the review of the DPA 2? I guess it would apply to 1 too, but just particularly in this agenda item, it's dealing with DPA 2. Is there a circumvention that's happening that takes it out of the public hearing process?
Director of Planning, are you able to talk about that? That it wouldn't be a public hearing as much as it would be public consultation through the process.
Yeah, it doesn't, thank you, Mayor. It doesn't change the process. So the process is still the same. Changing the development permit area or updating the guidelines would still require a public hearing because it is an OCP amendment.
Sure.
So the initial process was going to do the entire OCP and do an update of the entire document, but bringing forward the update to development permit area 1 and 2 now just brings that piece of the project to completion earlier.
Okay, so there will be a public hearing component.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the democratic aspect. I wanted to ask, in regard to the writing of the request for proposals, there's a bit of language there that's a bit confusing to me. It's suggesting that a consultant be hired to prepare the wording for a request for proposal, but also that Councillor D'Andrade be appointed to work with staff on wording. And I just wanted to, if I could ask for clarification on that. Is it the consultant that's being hired to work on wording for a request for proposals to do the review, or is it staff that's doing it?
Yeah, I'm going to hold that question until we come to that item on the agenda.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Also, Mr. Mayor, is it usual for a councillor to work with staff in the writing of an RFP to hire a consultant or to the work to establish wording?
I'll hold that question as well.
Okay, and I'm hoping that these questions will be answered as part of that agenda item. I've got pretty serious concerns about procedural and democratic processes at play in this matter, and these concerns relate to ethics and governance. And I wonder, does the mayor and council appreciate that staff is perfectly capable of attending to this task in their professional capacity, and that appointing Councillor D'Andrade may prove deleterious to the relationship of respect that the council must maintain in the effective provision of service to the community as elected officials? So I'm going to look to your votes on that aspect of this agenda item for my answer. And I'll thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Other queries or inquiries at this time?
I see no other hands raised, Mayor Beamish.
Apologize for my looking like I'm working from a closet in the darkness here, but I'm trying to get light. I brought a lamp from home to sit on my desk. I got lights above me, but I'm in my office. It's a very poor location to actually be on YouTube or wherever we're on here, Zoom. Yeah. So, okay, seeing no further questions, we'll go down to committee of the whole minutes for 6.11. Recommendation that those minutes be received. Councillor Kroll, Councillor Ladwig, thank you. All in favor? Thank you very much. And now we'll go to 6.1.2, and this is the development permit area number 1 and 2 update. And I'm going to say, when I read this, I had the same concerns. I mean, when I read this resolution, that we're providing $25,000 to authorize the DPA 2 update project, that we're hiring a consultant to prepare an RFP, that Councilor DeAndrade is authorized to work with staff on the drafting of the RFP, and that the RFP be brought back to committees a whole for approval. It seems like a lot of repetition here. I mean, if we're hiring a consultant, and I wasn't at this meeting, so you'll have to help me out. If we're hiring a consultant, why are we in turn then working with staff to draft it, and something that's going to come back, consultant report, come back to the committee of the whole for approval? Councillor Ladwig, what do you?
I think the intent of that motion was simply that anyone that's hired consultants knows that if you don't ask the right question, you don't necessarily get the information you were looking for. And so it's just important to make sure that the question being put forward to the consultant through an RFP is clear. And this is an issue that is really important to Councillor DeAndrade. And so she asked if she could work with staff to ensure that the question put forward was clear in the request.
Okay.
I didn't see anything wrong with that, and so I supported that motion.
I guess so. We're actually talking about 2 different RFPs here.
I would need clarity on that.
Well, we're talking about hiring a consultant to draft an RFP, and Councillor DeAndrade working with staff to draft the RFP. What is it, the same RFP, or is the second one the RFP to hire the consultant? I'm not sure. Councillor DeAndrade, help me out.
Thank you. I think the goal if we look at on the September 7, the staff report, and there was the several topics where the DPA was going to involve, right? Field work and very general. And I have certain concerns, and I have been looking at this DPA 2 since the beginning of my mandate. So the only thing, I mean, there's some questions in my mind. Okay, what things that I'm gonna look at? I mean, climate change considerations and consideration with habitat, with wildlife corridors.